Hi, and welcome to the second episode about Bariloche. Last episode, we were exploring the city and all of its immediate surroundings, and I taught you a little bit about the culture, the craft beer, the chocolates. But today, I'm going to take you to other trips that you can take from Bariloche because this city is going to also be the gateway to some of the most beautiful day trips in the Patagonia. The great thing is that they are going to be very short, so you can combine a few of them, or you can drive for a few hours just through this ancient forests and reach this incredible landscapes. There are going to be mostly 3 day trips that you can take, or 4 different lakes that are recommended for visiting. And today I'm going to tell you about the 7 places in total so you can decide which of these trips you want to take. And I'll start by telling you about my personal favorite, which is the trip to Puerto Blest and the Cascada de los Cántaros or Cántaros Fall. This trip is going to be a full day boat trip that will take you into the longest and most spectacular arm of the Nahuel Huapi. For this trip, you'll take a boat in Puerto Pañuelo, and then you'll navigate for around 1 hour into Puerto Blest. An interesting fact about this arm of the Nahuel Huapi is that it will receive more than 3,500 millimeters of rain per year, which is almost 5 times more than the city of Bariloche. And so all of this humidity is going to create a special microclimate that will give life to the Maldivian forest, which will be a type of dense and lush forest that will only be found in this area of the park. And the first stop from your boat ride is going to be in Cascada de los Cántaros station. Here you're going to disembark and have a set amount of time, which for me was around 1 hour, to climb a path with around 700 wooden steps. But don't worry, this sounds like a lot. There are going to be many different stops, and also they're not steep. So you'll just be climbing up the stairs, and you can see all of the different waterfalls along the way. An interesting thing is that this waterfall is going to flow into the lake, but it originates in a lake that's called Los Cántaros, which is way much higher up the mountain and cannot be accessed in this tour. At the end of the trail, you're going to find a protected tree because it's estimated to be 1,500 years old. So, this is one of the oldest trees in the region, and that's why they're protecting this tree. And you'll see a sign where you can take photos of the oldest tree in the Nahuel Huapi. Then you're going to reboard the boat and you're going to sail 5 more minutes into Puerto Blest. And this place is going to be historically important because it was part of the route that was used by all of the Jesuits to cross into Chile in the 17th century. Over here, you're going to find a hotel and a restaurant where you can maybe have lunch, but I have to warn you, the food is going to be quite expensive and very average. I did not like it at all, and I was kind of regretting not bringing my own food or my own snacks from the city. So, if you're listening to this before the trip, make sure that you're taking some snacks, not only to this trip, but to all of the trips, because the restaurants that you'll find are going to be relatively expensive, especially for the value that you're getting. But either way, once you're in there already, you can do 2 different things. You can either take an additional excursion into Lake Frias or Cold Lake, which will be a greenish lake, it's not very blue, or you can stay in Puerto Blest and do some hiking around this area. What I did was I chose to stay in Blessed because I was talking with the guides and I was talking with other people before, and they told me that if I would take the additional trip to Lake Frias, it would require a lot of extra time, like because you have to get on a bus, you'll go with transportation to Lake Frias, then you can only see it, you'll come back. So basically, you're wasting, let's say, a lot of time that you could be spending either doing extra hiking or taking more photos or just relaxing. And so if you try to visit both lakes, it will be very rushed. So the recommendation is that you should stay in Blessed and get to enjoy this place a lot because this is going to also have a lot of different trekking options. I did, for example, the longest trekking possible in Blessed. And what I did was that I basically was walking throughout the forest, and this is going to take you almost all the way around the arm. You're going to get even close to Cascada de los Cántaros, which is where you first disembarked. But then you're going to return. And what I did was that I returned by the beach. And so I could see both the forest and the beach, and I think this was probably the best approach. So if you want to take the other trip to Lake Frias, you'll be a little bit rushed. If you stay, you can do what I did. But either way, whether you do the trekking or whether you stay or whether you don't even want to walk and just see this beautiful lake, I think Lake Blest and Puerto Blest is going to be the ideal place for everyone. It has some of the most beautiful landscapes of Nahuel Huapi, so I highly recommend it. Then, if you have another day, the next recommended day trip is going to Victoria Island and the Arrayanes forest. And this is going to be probably the most classic and popular day trip because it will take around half a day if you do the short version or a full day if you do the long version. But again, you're going to start sailing from Puerto Pañuelo, and the boat ride to Quetrihue Peninsula is going to take around 45 minutes. Here you're going to disembark and walk along an 800-meter wooden path. And the key fact over here is that this is not the only place with myrtle trees, but it is the only forest in the world where this species grows with the density and size of a forest because they have specimens of over 600 years old. So the bark of the myrtle tree is going to be cold to the touch because the sap is going to be circulating very close to the surface. This place is going to be very beautiful. I love this type of trees. And then the second stop is going to be Victoria Island, specifically in Puerto Anchorena. This island is going to be huge. It covers around 31 kilometers squared, so only a small part of it is visited. And one of the fun things about this island is that it used to be a conifer nursery, which is why native species will coexist today with very exotic trees such as redwoods, pines, and oaks from all over the world. So here you're going to have several options. Again, you can take some of the self-guided walks of different lengths, or you can go to Playa del Toro, which is going to be a small volcanic sand beach. There is also going to be a chairlift, which is going to be paid separately, but here you can climb to Cerro Bellavista and get a panoramic view. So, of course, if you want extra time over here, then you should probably take the full day tour because lots of things to do over here. And also depends on whatever you like. If you're looking for beach, if you're looking for hiking, or if you just want a panoramic view, you'll get everything over here. This day trip is going to be very popular because it has relatively easy hikes. It will show you the flora of the region very well. But the only downside is that because it's so popular, it's not going to be probably the best place to relax. It's always going to be crowded. So if you're looking for a place that's not as crowded, then I would recommend going into the third option of day trips, which will be Brazo Tristeza and Cascada del Arroyo Frey. So this one is going to be way less crowded and it's going to be more of a contemplative alternative, if we can say, to traditional boat trips. It is usually going to be done on smaller boats and it will last for only half a day. Brazo Tristeza is going to be a glacier fjord, which means that a glacier carved out all of this deep canyon, which was then flooded by the lake, and all of these granite rock walls almost drop vertically into the water, exceeding 500 meters in height at some points. The tour will consist of only a slow boat ride of approximately an hour and a half to the end of the fjord, and the main attraction is going to be the landscape itself. You're going to see many different waterfalls that will originate directly from the mountain and will fall into the lake, especially after rainy days, and there are going to be no stops along the way. The goal is to enjoy the silence and immensity of this unspoiled landscape. And when you reach at the end of the arm, then the boat is going to dock. You can disembark for like a 20-minute walk along a native forest trail, and it is going to be a very easy trail that will lead to the base of the Arroyo Frey waterfall. An interesting fact about this stream is that this is the same one that allows the famous Frey mountain refugee to get water on Cerro Catedral. So the water you see here comes directly from the melting snow of the high peaks. The time at the waterfall is usually going to be around 40 minutes before heading back. So this one is going to be a very short day trip. But although it's short, it's going to be way less touristy. The only downside is that it won't have a lot of infrastructure. So if you're looking, for example, for restaurants or some extra longer thing, this is not going to be the place. But well, Besides from these three possible day trips, you could also take a trip to the different lakes around this area. One of them is going to be Lake Guillermo. This one will be located in the southern area of Bariloche, specifically near Route 40 or Highway 40, around 36 kilometers away from the city. But unlike others, this is not going to be a destination for like organized tours. It's going to be a place where you can visit by yourself or with your own car. And it's a relatively small lake. It only has 10 kilometers squared. Its main feature is going to be that it is very well protected from the wind by its location that's nestled between the mountains. And that's why this is a very popular destination for fishing. In fact, it is known for having a very good population of rainbow trout and brook trout. But to fish here, you must have a valid fishing permit, which you can purchase in Bariloche. There are going to be very few services, so if you come here, make sure to bring everything that you need. And you're also going to find some free camping areas. One cool thing is that the water from Lake Mascardi will flow into Lake Guillermo, and from there, a small river flows into Lake Stephen. And so, this is going to be a key link between the different water systems that are in the region. And although I did not visit this lake, I heard that it's going to be, of course, a perfect place if you want to go fishing, but also for picnics or kayaking, it will be a good place. The second recommended lake is going to be Lake Gutiérrez. And this one will be the most accessible lake from Bariloche. It's only going to be 15 kilometers away from the city center, and you can easily reach it by car or even public transportation. Something interesting is that unlike Nahuel Huapi, which is purely glacial in origin, Gutierrez is going to be a glaciotectonic lake, meaning that a geological fault contributed to the formation of this basin. And this, added to the fact that it's a smaller and shallower lake, means that the water temperature is going to be around 3 degrees warmer than the Nahuel Huapi. So, of course, this is a favorite for swimming in the summer. At its northern end in Villa Los Coihues, this is going to be probably the most popular beach. It will have even lifeguards on duty during high season. And two of the best known hikes start here. The first one is a very easy 15-minute walk that will lead to Cascada de los Duendes waterfall. And the second one is going to be the start of the trail to Refugio Frey del Cerro Catedral, one of the most classic mountain hikes that will take around 4 hours to ascend. So it's a long hike. On the opposite shore of the lake, there are going to be camping areas and some public beaches, and so this is going to be one of the few lakes in the national park where motorboats are also allowed, although there are some restrictions. But as you can see, this one is like the most family friendly. It's ideal for people who have little time and want a lake experience that's close to the city, or those who just want to combine trekking with some beach. It will be a good lake for getting different things. Another third option is going to be Lake Mascardi, which is going to be located 30 kilometers south of Bariloche, and Lake Mascardi is going to be the gateway to Cerro Tronador or Tronador Hill area. And the most distinctive feature is going to be its V shape because the two arms are going to have different names and kind of personalities as well. You're going to find the cathedral arm that will face the mountain range where the hill of Catedral or Cathedral Hill is going to be located. And then you'll also find Tronador Arm, which, as you can imagine, is we're going to find the Tronador Hill. But this lake was named after Nicolas Mascardi, which was a 17th century Jesuit missionary who was one of the first Europeans to explore this region. There are also going to be several campsites. It's the starting point for rafting on the Manso River, which originates around the southern end and is also going to be popular for kayaking or paddling from one arm to the other is going to be a popular thing. So I guess this lake is ideal if you want to do some kayaking or some other water sports, or for everyone that's going to Cerro Tronador or Tronador Hill, because they usually use this lake as their base. And finally, we're going to find Lake Nahuel Huapi. I've been talking about this big water lake of the entire national park that will bear its name. It's one of the largest lakes in all of Argentina. It has an area of 557 kilometers squared and a maximum depth of 464 meters. The name, as I mentioned in my previous episode, is going to mean Island of the Puma, and this island is referred to by the indigenous people is Victoria Island. This will be the largest of the 30 islands that are on the lake. A key geological fact is that this lake is going to be glacial origin. And during the last glacial time, a huge mass of ice advanced from the mountain range, basically carving out all of these valleys. And as it receded, meltwater filled these depressions, creating the lake and its 8 arms. This is why the waters are going to be so pure and crystal clear, but also so cold, with an average temperature of around 7 degrees Celsius. The entire lake is going to be navigable, and it is going to be the route for main lake excursions as the one I was mentioning before. A fun fact is that despite all of the size, it's only going to have one outlet, which is the Limay River, and it will originate in the eastern end and will mark also the beginning of one of the most important river systems in Argentina. And of course, there's also going to be a legend of Nahuelito, which is supposed to be an aquatic creature. The first official record of sightseeing will date back to 1922, and it was presented by a director of the Buenos Aires Zoo, which gave some notoriety at the time. But as you see, over here you have a lot of options. And so clearly, you'll have to prioritize or extend your visit if you want to visit everything. And although I didn't manage to visit all of these places, I was researching all of them because this is definitely a destination that I would dream of going back to. Tell me in the comments which of these places you're planning on visiting, or share this episode with someone else that you want to travel to Bariloche with. Also, give me a review and subscribe because all of this will help me tremendously to keep sharing all of my travel tips with you. And stay tuned because next week we're going to travel to the capital of Argentina. Enjoy your trip between the different water systems that are in the region. And although I did not visit this lake, I heard that it's going to be, of course, a perfect place if you want to go fishing, but also for picnics or kayaking, it will be a good place. The second recommended lake is going to be